Mohammed Dan Hassan, who is the Executive Director, FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency. Now, if you have any questions or comments to make regarding the conversation, feel free to join in. At some point, we'll open up the phone lines to, have your thoughts and responses in. The numbers to call, keep them really close: 09073530044 and 09087668888. Dr. Dan Hassan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, well, let's get to the conversation. The global hand washing and, well, the hand washing day. We're not there yet. It's going to come on. It's on Saturday, right?
Yes.
Yes,
15th.
15th of October. But we started this conversation. One of your colleagues was here 2 days ago, and it's quite interesting how Nigerians haven't gotten to the point where hand washing is our thing. It's a habit that we have all imbibed and would run with. And while we're working towards getting to that point, what has been your experience with Nigerians when you come to them to tell them, oh, it's important for you to wash your hands?
Thank you very much for this great opportunity to interact with my fellow countrymen. Uh, Global Hand Washing Day, celebrated every 15th of October. It's a day set aside by the United Nations to commemorate and also remind us of the significance of hand washing, as simple as it sounds. This simple act of hand washing is as important as our lives. So the United Nations deem it fit universally, globally, to celebrate, to commemorate this day. My experience so far in the field is such that in the past, when we go to primary schools, to health centers, to communities, to celebrate this day, to mark it, not just the ceremonial aspect, we were trying to awaken our subconsciousness on the importance of hand hygiene, hand washing. But at that time, people laugh at us. They say, look at these people. They don't know what they're doing. Their work now just to they wash hand. Who don't know how to wash hand? We just smile because it's part of the learning, and smile to them and say, well, if you want to eat food, you just dip your hand in it. So you see, it's important. But we are not deterred. However, the most significant event that really changed the psyche of Nigerians, especially, was when we had the epidemic of Ebola into Nigeria, which was later followed by the pandemic, the COVID-19, and the basic prevention of those deadly diseases is constant hand washing, hand hygiene. And that was the time Nigerians realized. It's not that they didn't know, no, but they just put it set aside. Our forefathers were really into that so much. You dare not dip your hands without going to wash your hands. Your mother, grandmother will give you the beating of your life.
That's true.
So, but somehow, through time, even with civilization, with technology, we seem to ignore it. But those deadly diseases reawaken our subconsciousness that it is really important. And if you look at it, you don't even have to be a professional in the field to know this. The gospel says cleanliness is next to godliness. In both the major religions, you cannot really worship God, interact with God without being clean to that human level. So it is that important to us all.
Well, we understand now. The important it's quite important you've mentioned, but a lot of Nigerians still do not understand the importance of hand washing, and it just seems like these people are just preaching their thing. They're just talking, talking their own thing. I like the way that you broke it down to say that even before all of these civilization and all, we've always held hand washing as something that's quite important. The other aspect I want us to talk about is the area of uh, having constant reminders, because it feels like after this day, after the 15th of October, we leave it aside, and then when next year comes and it's almost October 15 again, we start to talk about it. there's need for sustained communication and conversation around this. How can we, especially in the FCT, maintain this conversation even at rural level? I feel like you're the best person to talk to because you're director of the Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency.
Thank you very much. What we do, there's a concept developed by an Indian called CLTS, meaning community-led total sanitation. So what we usually do, we go to these communities, we trigger them, sensitize them, do the awareness program, but we trigger them. That triggering process is meant to ignite a behavior change in them. Once you ignite that change and they own it, then they will remind themselves on the significance of hand hygiene, hand washing hygiene, as a preventive measure of all these diseases. That it's a barrier to the ways these diseases come into us. So when we sensitize them, ignite that change in them. And how do we do it? We go through so many techniques. If one doesn't work, we use the other one. For example, when you interview the head of the household or the woman in charge of the home, and even the kids or youth groups or women will say, how many times have you been to the hospital? Or any member of the household. Government paid for your hospital bill. What were the illnesses? And you see all the illnesses were water, sanitation, and hygiene related. And some of them could easily have been prevented through simple hand washing. And they didn't do that. And you spend so much money, time, energy that you'll have gone to the farm, you'll have gone to their business. The children, they miss school hours. The mother had to tender for the kids, or even as an adult. Diarrhea, diseases, enteritis, cholera, and such things like that. So they now begin to say, if they had done this simple, basic hygiene, they would have saved this cost economically. The children will be in school, they will be in their businesses. And if you take care of this hand hygiene, you touch so many things, flies around, the compound is not clean, and it goes into your food and water, and you start having health issues. So it's a way, it's a barrier, it's a point where you break those diseases coming into you. So we do that concept, just like now, we have triggered 439 communities in Kwali Area Council. We are focusing on Kwali now to use it as a model to showcase Kwali, because out of the 774 local government areas in Nigeria, only about 88 have been fully verified and certified to be open defecation free. However, FCT with 6 area councils were yet to have one joining the team, the map of Nigeria of area councils or local government areas that are open defecation free. And so we are not targeting Kwali that by December this year, by God's grace, with the cooperation of all stakeholders, we want to showcase Kwali as open defecation free in FCT. From there, we'll go to other communities. So we triggered this 439 communities in the 10 wards of the area councils, and it's still ongoing. This will ensure each household must have a toilet facility. You will use the locally available materials within the village to construct your toilets. We are not saying go to the city, buy WC, buy this, buy that. No, locally available materials, and stop open defecation. Because that way, you go to the bush, you defecate, your hand touches all sorts of rubbish, you come back to the house, you just use water, you think it's enough. You must use water and soap. If there's no soap, you use ash. Water and ash will suffice. Break the chain of communication of these preventable diseases. And they are beginning to see the importance of that. And this involves everyone, it's universal. That is why the theme for this year is Unite for Universal Hand Hygiene. Everyone is involved. The traditional leaders, the women leaders, the youths, everyone, various groups. Thank you.
Now, we're talking about hand washing, and many people would say in rural communities, oh, there's a shortage of water, then some of them don't even have water supply. How can we tell people to wash their hands when they don't have water to wash their hands? I don't know how you respond to this.
Thank you very much. Water, as you all know, is critical. Goal 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals, provision of safe, affordable water all over. However, we are not there yet, but we are on course in the provision of rural water schemes in our communities. The major water supply, pipeline water and FCT has not reached all the nooks and crannies. Even the phase 3 and 4 of the city plan, federal capital city, some of them have not reached. If you look at Lokogoma, Lugbe, that you think very close to the city, are yet to supply. However, with the coming of the Greater Abuja Water Supply Project, which is ongoing right now, that expansion will go. But however, you have the rural communities that 100% they depend on groundwater resource through the construction of hand wells and boreholes. So what we ensure is we have a project for construction of new schemes in those communities. Some will be normal manual hand pump boreholes, some will be electric powered, some will be solar powered, depending on the exigencies of the moment in terms of funding. And what we do, as we discovered in the past, when you do these water schemes, whether small, medium, or big, once you commission and go 2-3 months, they become dysfunctional. So we try to bring up the sustainability concept in it, because they just say, this government property, nobody cares. But we say, no, government property is your own property. You are the government, you are part of the government. Without you people being there, the government will not be there. So you must own this project, whether it's 1 naira, whether it's 1 million, whether it's 100 million that government is investing. The community must contribute. Sometimes we make them commit themselves, they must write. You say you have a big contribution to make, which is even more than the money that the government is investing. But that contribution is not in monetary terms. We make them to sign an undertaking. This is your contribution. Safety, security, ownership of these water projects. And while we have this, you see it's sustainable. We have a water users committee or WashCom, water sanitation and hygiene committees. Those committees will be the one to manage the scheme. If there are any issues with maintenance, and you see it being sustainable. When it breaks down, they have a way around to fix it. If they cannot, they come to us. We see why we can support. So that way it becomes sustainable. But there are areas, some of the places, especially a year ago when there was outbreak of cholera in the FCT, a minister gave directive for urgent water intervention in those typical rural communities that we had to go in to make provision, even as simple as ordinary hand pump borehole, and some places solar schemes. It cannot be 100% at a go, but we're doing it gradually. So those WashComs, the committees, run these schemes and manage it and ensure it's working. And what we do, even for the private, ensure there is a code of practice for water well drilling, rather than just drilling anyhow. Once you do it properly, we take a sample, take it to the lab and test. Where we had issues, some of them indicated presence of coliform, some even E. coli. E. coli bacteria will indicate there's a fecal contamination. Because when you defecate in the open water runs, and once you tamper with the natural ground, it goes, percolates and contaminates the ground. So you need to do remedial measures. So once we discover that E. coli, then we'll see where is the source. Is there a circle close by? Is it open defecation? It could be presence of heavy metals. Is it due to mining or due to some human activity going on, and then infiltration of this heavy metal is contaminating the water? So it's important we now conduct the water quality analysis and we advise. In some cases, we even have to say abandon it, seal it. But in other cases, you do remedial measures and disinfect the well, and you do another water quality test, and it becomes okay.
Well,
and then
people can
safe for drinking.
Yeah, okay, so well, we have with us this morning Dr. Mohammed Hassan, who is the Executive Director, FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency. We're discussing, well, ahead of the Global Hand Washing Day. Interesting conversation it's been. We're talking about especially how we can get water for those who need to, wash their hands and all. Water supply is quite important, and you can't divorce that from the, hand hygiene. If you feel like, if you like it, join the conversation. Call 09073530044 and 09087668888. I like the way that you broke it down, you know, how you handle the projects, the water projects, and the fact that people, you get the communities to also commit in that, to a source to protect, you know, the infrastructure. In a situation where a community that is supposed to have pipe-borne water, and those communities may have been, you know, in existence for maybe 10, 15 years, and there's no water. Like you mentioned, the Lokogoma area, these are neighborhoods that are close, really close to the city center. What is your agency doing to see that some of these communities get, you know, pipe-borne water, especially considering the fact that they're close to, you know, the city center?
Those communities, they're under the plan of the Greater Abuja Water Supply Master Plan, being handled by the Engineering Services Department of FCDA, Federal Capital Development Authority. Once the construction is completed, it is handed over to Water Board to operate and manage. Right now, as I was driving to this place, I could see the Chinese company excavating for the trunk main line, the pipeline, the major pipeline that will come across these areas. So that one will supply water to all these areas with this Greater Abuja Water Supply Master Plan that is ongoing right away. But that is under the purview of Engineering Services Department of FCDA.
If there is.
There's a timeline. I'm not sure. I don't have the document with me, but I know the company made a brief to the Honorable Minister some time ago on their plan and even request to have access to pipeline corridor. They discover some of the areas they need to lay their pipes have been encroached upon. A lot of people have built on it, and they were supposed to be left as service corridor. And they made a case. A minister gave directive those corridors should be cleared to allow for this work to continue. This morning, I even saw part of it around the runabout. They were excavating with the big pipes, trunk pipes. But it's a contract by the FCT administration, which is ongoing and with collaboration with the Chinese, and is ongoing. So that will boost the water up to its maximum capacity. But the conveyance system has not been laid. If you produce 100% capacity, you can, where will you take the water to? So that is why they need to have this pipe network, the trunk main lines to reach those areas. Then the production will increase at the waterworks. But however, our agency that came up is an offshoot from Waterboard. We used to be a department in Waterboard. Then we were detached and created solely as mandated by the National Policy on Water and Sanitation for each state and FCT to have a rural water supply and sanitation agency. So we deal with the rural and semi-urban in terms of water supply, and mostly we explore and exploit the groundwater resource, which is already there. You can imagine if we didn't have groundwater, how would it have been in Abuja or even Nigeria? So that is why we advise people follow the code ethics when you are exploiting this groundwater resource. Because if you don't, you are endangering and injuring the environment, and the effect can be generations, not just our current generation.
Very true. Well, the conversation continues, and we would love to bring you in now. Quickly, 09073530044 and 09087668888. That is 09073530044 and 09087668888. Now, speaking of other, issues of sanitation, in the MCT, there are people who naturally, clean the city up. But then these days, you see certain places that are, filled with trash, and some of these neighborhoods are even, smelly and all. What is the remedy? What do you think is the remedy for this? Before now, it wasn't like this. All of a sudden, now you go around and you see dump sites and all, and that are highly, very, very, unhygienic for
For a
citizens
city like
and people,
Abuja.
for cities like Abuja. Exactly.
Thank you very much. That is very obvious, very important. One major aspect that really changed the scenario is the sudden influx of people into the federal capital city. in the last 6, 7 years, I would say, or even 10 years, with the advent of democracy and people wanting to come to the center. And what really aggravated the situation was the insecurity in the neighboring states. And naturally, people look for safe haven. And to their belief or minds, they found Abuja much safer and more comfortable for them. So whether you knew anybody or anything, people just moved in at a very high rate, looking for safe havens. Some for economic reasons, moving into Abuja, and it happened in such a way that the rate of influx is far outweighs the planned development of the city and even in the entire territory. So that influx really put the pressure on all the agencies dealing with water and sanitation in the FCT, be it the Abuja Environmental Protection Board, the Water Board, the Development Control, Urban and Regional Planning, all those agencies of the FCT administration that are in charge of managing the city and the territory as such. So they needed to up their game, redouble all their efforts because the influx of people, and you can't stop Nigerians from coming in. But of course, there are certain rules which some of our people don't obey. You can see on a highway on the city, somebody will just squat by the gutter and defecating. Some, it could be lack of infrastructure near where he had the call for nature. Some people even believe even there is a toilet, they will not enter the toilet. They feel they want to enjoy the fresh air. And it's not just in rural communities, even in the cities, you see them defecating. You go to Lagos by the bridge, you see somebody defecating like that, right openly, even here. So there is need to manage that influx of people. And where you have that influx of people, definitely waste will be generated. So all these agencies are now really overwhelmed, but I'm sure they are all up to the task. They have noticed these changes over the years, and replanning, redesigning, we can be stubborn at times. That is why I would say kind of sometimes you need to do the enforcement approach. If you follow Nigerians with kid gloves, you won't get the best results in some places. Some accept and cooperate, and it's for the good of all of us. But there are some places you need that enforcement. Like when we go to rural communities and trying to reintroduce this sanitation and hygiene concepts, enforcement is the last resort. We don't want to force people for something that is for their own good, but we need to make them rethink that this is for the well-being of their children, of themselves, of the environment, future generations. And they seem to buy it. And once the leaders, especially traditional leaders, talk to them, they seem to accept that. In fact, much even easier and faster than even the urban people.
Interesting. We have a message here, a voice note from Polycat. Let's hear it.
Good morning once again, Your Highness, Prince
Good morning.
Yanacho.
Good morning.
My name remains Polycat. Please, I want to appreciate you for this topic, and I want to also appreciate your guest, Dr. Hassan. You see, open desification has been a problem in Africa, not only Nigeria, because we blacks, we believe it is natural. Even when I was young, I used to get excited. I used to be happy when we go to, when we go to do open desification, and we believe it's natural. It's only when when I got matured, I now realize it is wrong. And I appreciate this topic, especially this hand washing of a fin. You see, it's something that we all should appreciate, because I only believe cleanliness is nearer to godliness, as he said, and this is only thing that differentiates us between the white men. They are always neat. They always do their things the best with the best of their ability. And I wish to advise we Africans and Nigeria as a nation to comply with this. If we wash our hand every day in everything we do, when we go out, we come in, we wash our hands. I think it's a good way. It's a very good way to start. And I believe with time, we're going to see progress and we're going to be healthy. Thank you.
Thank you again, Polycat, for your thoughts there. Let's quickly, in a minute as we close, we have a few more seconds to let you go. I see you're busy, very busy man. What do we, let's talk about the World Toilet Summit, the World Toilet Day Summit. It's coming up
Yes.
in
19th of
Abuja,
November.
19th of November. Why are we putting up the World Toilet?
As the Global Hand Washing Day. So also United Nations declared 19th November every year as World Toilet Day. Provision of toilets to everyone, accessible to everyone. As you are aware, in the last 2 years, India was #1 open defecation country in the world. But India did a lot of campaign, a lot of awareness program in such a way they even used the father of modern India, Mahatma Gandhi, and they said on his birthday, what gifts were they ready to give to Mahatma Gandhi? And they came up with the idea that since he loved cleanness, it's a shame on India to be #1 open defecation country in the world. So let them give him a gift. And they did a lot of awareness campaign, construction facilities, household and public toilets. And India was out of that, and Nigeria took over. For 2 years now, Nigeria is now #1 open defecation country in the world, with 49 million Nigerians defecating in the open. And as long as one person defecates in the open, we are not safe. Millions of germs, millions of viruses, cysts, and parasites are released into the environment. So, and the Nigerian government has come up with a roadmap to end open defecation by the year 2025. And that roadmap was launched. And in 2018, the president of the country now issued Executive Order 009 to end open defecation in Nigeria by the year 2025. And each state and FCT is supposed to key into that executive order to ensure that we leave that level, we leave that position of #1 open defecation country in the world. And to now further emphasize that aspect, the World Summit on Toilets was now planned to hold in Nigeria, for Nigeria to host it, to show the commitment of Nigeria and Nigerians to leave that position of #1 open defecation country in the world, so that by the year 2025, we'll be free of open defecation. And it was planned that that summit, November 19 this year, in about a month's time, will hold in Abuja. And all over the world, all the stakeholders will come to Abuja to meet. And that's a challenge to us, that we should leave that position of #1 open defecation country in the world. And by 19 November, all stakeholders are expected to meet. And as you are aware, on 5th of May, the Honorable Minister of State FCT did the groundbreaking and flag off of construction of 10,000 toilets in the Federal Capital, public toilets in the FCT, to ensure strategic locations have public toilets that are well managed, well taken care of, and run by private investors. And government agency will just regulate the operations so that the facilities are there. There will be no excuse for anyone to say there's no facility and is defecating or urinating in the open. And that way we'll become safer and healthier.
Very well said. Dr. Mohammed Dam Hassan, Executive Director, FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency. Thank you so much for talking with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Appreciate you coming in. Well, in a bit, we would get on talking about, what the allegation by the CUPP. Hope that you'll be a part of this conversation. Keep it with us.
The 2022 Global Hand Washing Day is
Thank you
here
very much.
with the
Thank
theme
you so much, sir.
Universal Hygiene. Date 17th October 2022. Venue Chida Hotel, Solomon La Road, Jabi, Abuja. Time 10 a.m. This year's objective for the global event are to create awareness on the benefits of hand washing, to